Job well done, everybody. Welcome to another taint-filled and taint-inspired, taint-sponsored, unofficially episode of the Black Tower podcast. Wow. I am one of your not-so-illustrious but hopefully enjoyable host, Andrew, your body's on my hail.
That's a lot of taint. Also, why did it sound like you were choking on something when you said that?
Because maybe he was choking on something. Jesus, don't taint shame people.
I'm not judging. I'm not shaming.
Why
do you call me the non-shaming?
Hey, why the fuck are you taint shaming somebody? What the fuck?
They don't call it a bat hole for no reason. All right.
I am your Soro van Mihail, also known as the Never Shame Mihail, unless you're into that. You pathetic worm. You should be ashamed of yourself.
It's not because he doesn't shame people. It's because he just doesn't feel shame for the things he should feel shame for.
Correct.
That part of my brain is broken.
That part of his brain has always been broken. For years now. For many years, that part of Josh's brain has been broken. That part of Josh's heart. He does not feel shame or sadness like you and me. He only feels happy all the time.
The taint has left me bereft of empathy.
But the gentleman below me
has also given me a very large forehead.
You've been gone so long. Who the hell are you? Really hasn't been that long.
Who are you, Mr. Goatee and illustrious mustache?
Oh yes, I am the mustache Mihail.
I must ask you a question.
The Amin Khan mustache. And I am Daniel. I was
came
gone
on mustache.
Last week. Apparently Leia came in and filled in for me last week.
She did.
I've not yet seen the episode. So
I hope she did a
good job. I hope that she did lots and lots of strange voices, because that's the thing that you need to bring to the table if you're replacing me.
That's like the old adage says, you know, what do you do when you come across a man with a beard? Clean it up.
Clean it.
That is not the right sound I should be making right now. I should not be going. But speaking of seeing the last episode, the one that Leia was so kind to join us in, to attempt to fill the shoes of Daniel and actually fill them to overflow. I mean, do a really good job at the attempt.
That's why my shoes are so wet. Jesus.
Oh, no. If you are a patron of the soldier tier or higher, you can definitely go and listen to that episode already. By the time you're listening to this publicly, that episode's already been out publicly, so you'll be fine there. But if you want to get early access to episodes 99% of the time, because let's face it, I'm trash sometimes at deadlines, come over to Patreon for $4 a month at the soldier tier. You get early access to our episodes, generally about a week to a week and a half early, depending on editing timeframes and uploading. But generally, almost always early, except for one. I think there's only been one that hasn't been early at all. Yeah. But to find our Patreon, instead of making you go to patreon.com and look up the Black Tower podcast, which you can definitely do.
You can
just go
do it the hard way.
Yeah, but the easy way is you just go to blacktowerpod.com, and there's a button right there towards the top that says Patreon, where you can come on over. You can join us and become a family member of the Black Tower, and that will get you access to the live recorded episodes where you can listen to my cohort sing live. You get unfiltered access to the episodes, so you'll hear things that maybe nobody else does that get edited out, maybe for good reasons, maybe for bad reasons. Who the fuck knows, and who the fuck cares? We care because we want you to enjoy the episode in its full entirety. You can also use blacktowerpod.com to find all of our merch. There's forums there. There's a link to our fantastic continuous sponsor and the person that puts up with Josh more than any of the rest of us have to, the Crystal Barista. So definitely go.
A special lady to put up with me.
Oh, yeah. So definitely go and check out our website, the blacktowerpod.com. while you're doing that, when you get done getting your fill of our taint, where else to get some fantastic tainty goodness but then to go to thegreatblight.com. It is home.
Great Blight.
It is home to a massive list of Wheel of Time oriented content creators, from podcasts to YouTubers to artists to musicians to everything you can think of. You can find them on thegreatblight.com, as well as an ever evolving wiki that is spoiler oriented so that it will not spoil you if you have not read past a certain point in the series. So you want to read who the hell this Avienda chick is, but you're not done with Fires of Heaven. Guess what? It has a section where you know to stop before you get into Fires of Heaven.
It's true.
So you are not spoiled. So definitely go and check it out. Nablus and his team have done a great job putting it together. They continue to do good work over on the Great Blight. And yeah, just go and check it out. Tell them how much you love it. And if you find something you don't love or something you think you can do better, you can give them feedback on how to do better there. Breathe after all the plugs.
Dude, you did it. You did it.
Well, I try to get through the plugs like relatively quickly because I want to honor the plugs, because plugs are a big part of many people's lives and they're very important to us. But also for people that are like, I'm tired of the plugs. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Plugs are important sometimes.
This is true. This is true.
Anyone who's ever been plugged well knows what this man is talking about.
Or has done very well, very good plugging.
Also accurate.
Because I have never been the pluggee, but I have definitely been the plug. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Moving on. So before we get into anything else, because I almost forgot this again, we have some Patreon shout outs.
Yeah. Patreon. Promotions.
Oh,
and one new.
Congratulations to the promotees.
So Daniel, as a welcome back, do you want to do the shout outs?
Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, he does.
So we do have a new family member, a new patron, a new member of the Black Tower.
A new soldier.
A new soldier. Yes, they're not actually at the family member tier. They're just part of our family. That would be Kari. Kari is coming in hot in the soldier tier. She comes in getting her sword pin right off the bat. One of the fastest,
that's the dedicated tier
we've ever seen. What?
That's the dedicated tier.
Jesus, no, you're right. Okay, I'm not gonna do this anymore, 'cause I'm just bad at it, apparently.
What the hell is going on here?
What in the hell?
I even made the tiers. What the fuck? All right.
Damn it, Daniel.
Sorry, Kari. Yes, she's coming in.
Sorry, Kari.
You heard me.
Sorry.
It's coming in at the soldier tier. Welcome to the tower. You have been tested. You have been weighed. You have been measured, and you have not been found wanting.
Yes.
But yeah,
excellent
so
callback.
there you go.
Love it.
And then we do have two promotions. We have Norm.
No.
Is coming up from family member to soldier, so he has finally been tested and is actually officially joining the ranks of the Ashamans, and no longer just hanging out on the farm. He's now doing work, all of the things with the power, day in, day out. What was it that we said? Wait, I'm sorry. You want them to heat up their own food with the power? Okay, fucking fine.
So I will say this too.
Rand L. apathetic.
The resonance when Norm was tested. Whoo! It was.
Oh yeah.
Man's going places.
The best part was everybody already knew Norm's name before he even got tested. So he was just already at a place where everybody knew his name.
Everyone knew his name.
Yeah.
And he was glad he came.
Yep. And then we have one other promotion. But is it Matthew?
Oh, it's more. It's a bit of a shady fellow, but more.
Yes. Yes. The infamous fact checker, my nemesis, the fact checker Mihail, who comes in upgrading his pledge from family member to soldier as well. So he is finally actually eligible for Mihailship. Even though he's always been one.
Even though, whatever. It's all good.
This kind of feels like
Mihailship is earned.
like the dude church where you can just pay for your degree.
Actually,
it's free.
What?
It's free. Never mind.
It's free. I just got ordained in the church, the Latter-day Church of Dudism. I'm a Latter-day dude. Officially.
Yeah. But do you tie the room together?
No, my rug does. Trick question. Also, the official symbol of Dudism is a yin and yang, only instead of one dot, it's 3 dots, like a bowling ball. And I kind of want it as a tattoo. I'm not even kidding.
That's also for the Aes Sedai symbol, but it's got the 3 dots for the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and the Mother, Daughter, Holy Ghost. Right?
Whatever, man. If I ever do a wedding ceremony as a representative of the Church of Dudism, the wedding vows will be as follows. Do you promise to abide? Yes. Do you promise to abide? Yes. Cool. Then, be happy, man.
What? And if you ever get a situation where they say no, will you look at them and be like, do you abide? And then have them be like, I do not. And then you can look at them and be like, yeah, but it'd be way cooler if you did.
No, that's a different religion.
Oh, come on.
I'd be interested to see
those are the followers of McConaughey.
I'd be interested to see a Dudist wedding that is also a shotgun wedding. It's simultaneously chill but incredibly nerve-wracking.
It would have to be you'd have to have the nihilists behind you with a gun to your head being like, they care about nothing and they must be married now.
What?
Yeah.
Why is Arnold Schwarzenegger the representative?
Nothing, Lebowski. We care about nothing. We're nihilists, Lebowski. We care about nothing.
We're nihilists. We do not care about your dude abiding. We will make these people marry each other whether they want or not. When he says, do it now. That's him.
Get to the altar.
Get to the altar.
We changed from dudism to Schwarzeneggerism.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, man.
With the previous reference to the Schwartz. It's all full circle.
It's
like
wheel. Time. Like a circle.
But congratulations to our new members here at the Black Tower and our promotees. Thank you so much. Your support goes a long way to help support what we do here, which hopefully in turn lets us do cool stuff for all of you that are kind enough to listen and provide feedback. And Outlook, I swear, if you don't stop fucking notifying me of bullshit. Sorry.
I swear, Outlook, I will end
some wine.
No, I have a whole bunch of taint right here.
He has a buzz ball.
But anyway, one of our recent promotees, the illustrious, the infamous, the fantastically fabulous Norm, with his promotion, also decided to bestow a gift upon the Black Tower. So here to make sure that you are prepared for the topic of the day, and nobody, buzzballs don't do shit. What the fuck? How did you know I had a buzzball?
I said it. I said it with my human mouth out loud.
I was really confused. Well, that's not what I have anymore. I have a regular cup. A tumbler. Anyway, to make sure you are not spoiled beyond what you so desire, the fantastic, the fabulous Norm is here to make sure that you are protected from unwanted taint.
You like being spoiled.
That's the North Harbor spoiler.
No, I know. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go with this.
Hello, I'm Tam Sorrell Norm. You may remember me from the Dusty Wheel or the Black Tower podcast. I'm here to give you a public service announcement about spoilers, as this episode may contain some. As if you didn't already know that, like watching the film Titanic and being surprised that the boat sinks at the end of the movie. Hello, moron. The movie is called Titanic. Of course, the boat fracking sinks. This show is called the Black Tower Podcast, as in from the Wheel of Time. And these three guys are Ashaman. Well, at least two of them. I don't know about that Josh guy. Anyway, you have been warned.
Wow. The shade.
Norm!
The
Fuck you,
water
Josh.
and also the shade.
I love it. I love it. And also, I'm a little offended.
I mean, you
It's
should
okay,
be.
Norm. When you
That's
go
great.
low, I'm going to go high.
You know what happens when you're offended? Nothing. You're just offended. Move on with your life.
Nothing.
When
Nothing happens.
Norm goes low, Josh gets high. That's what's
That's exactly
That's one hell of a
what
coping
happens.
mechanism, and I applaud you, sir.
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a very special night because it's my personal favorite segment on the Black Tower podcast. Do you know what
Tonight's a very
that segment
special night,
is?
guys. It's my birthday, so I get to introduce you to my girlfriend.
No, she goes to a different school. You wouldn't know her. We're
You've
gonna
seen
do
that video, though, right?
a background breakdown.
Background break-
Back. Brown.
That's right.
Break down.
And-
down.
The person we're discussing tonight
Cannot be found.
is a person.
They slipped away. They slipped away. We tried to
Well,
catch
they
them
do
to
that.
talk about them, but they slipped
They do
away.
that. They do that. It's true.
It's a folder.
She's a slippery. She's slippery.
Well,
Not
it's like
literally
she's like that
slippery,
person that
she's figuratively
controls-
slippery.
the controls like admissions and the administration of like most colleges, but they smell like really like wet and hot, almost muggy. I guess you could call them like a muggy dean.
I hate you.
I am
so much
simultaneously disappointed and impressed with myself.
right now. No, you should only find disappointment there, sir.
Ladies
Yes,
and gentlemen,
tonight
for the rest
we're
of the
talking
life of the
about
Black Tower
The
podcast,
spider.
you will only hear the dulcet sounds of Daniel and Josh. For that infraction,
Ran-
Andrew has been removed from the fucking muggy Dean. Really?
Oh, God.
That's fair.
Tonight we will be discussing the spider, Arachnus Deathicus herself. She plays
Arachnus Deathicus.
so many big, like so many pivotal moments in the Wheel of Time. She's there. She does so many terrifying things.
Oh,
And she's a beautiful example of when less is more. How about that? How about I say that? She's a tremendous example of someone who perfectly understands the concept of less is more.
yeah.
And I'll die on this hill.
it's a small hill because less is more. But you know,
Hey, I see what you did there. That's
No,
right.
it's-
Tonight we're talking about the Forsaken Moghedien, and she's kind
And
of
I committed the sin. Okay,
let's just
I
say
see
that
what's
right
going
now.
on here.
no. I'm currently kicking Josh off too. Next week they're just getting me. You're both out.
Wait,
Well, for your
what?
cardinal sins of mispronouncing Moghedien.
Wait,
That's all three
Moghedien?
of us. No, it's
Okay.
Moghedien. Moghedien.
That's what I said.
No, it's not.
Moghedien.
No, it's not. You
So,
put the wrong emphasis
she-
on the wrong syllable.
What are we like?
Word
Late
Moghedien
90s, early 2000s
is
fandom on
actually
Fairyland or
Old
something?
Tongue. Moghedien is actually Old Tongue for the spider. She in her
Are we
her
going to pronounce
civilian life?
Moghedien
That's not the right way to put it.
differently every time we say it?
Moghedien. Well, why not?
I just finally got what Josh meant by something he said before we started recording, and I kind of feel bad. I'm not going to say it because it would be completely counter to what was said, but I just got it, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, anyway.
So on that note,
It's all good.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good.
We good, bro.
So that actually means in the Old Tongue, her name means Sickness Deathicus. And but her name prior to turning over to the shadow, does anybody know this? Without Googling, fact checker, do you know? Fact checkers in the live chat. If you want to be in the live chat, you got to join a Patreon.
We actually have
He's
a bunch
typing.
of people in
Let's
our
see.
live chat. This is great.
It's
Yeah.
actually pretty cool. We do have a lot of people. This is a full spoilers episode, though. Let's see. So, anybody? Those spoilers? No, that's not her name.
No. That's correct. Her name in the Old Tongue is, oh, God, will you squish this?
Yeah. Her name before she was known as Moghedien.
Lilen Moiral.
Moral.
Moiral. She was, I think she's, can I say she was like the emo goth Forsaken?
Definitely
yeah,
aesthetically.
Every time
Aesthetically,
I
yeah.
picture her with like a bob cut, dark makeup, spider sort of like necklace, like real intricate spider necklace, little bit of lace, not too much.
So
Like,
kind of
that's
like,
kind of how I pictured.
so kind of like if Wednesday Addams leaned more into Morticia.
Bro. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
Only-
aesthetic of Moghedien.
There it
So
is.
she walks
That's it.
around high school listening exclusively to My Chemical Romance and Punk Rock Princess.
There it is.
Yep.
I never
That's it
listened to
right
the
there.
second one, but I definitely listened to a fair share of MCR. Until they came out with the Sing album, which is absolute garbage. Fucking Gerald Way, you should have stopped.
Gerard
Sorry.
Way?
Gerard, whatever. Started with a G, I got that much right. I don't
So-
give a fuck. He fucked up, so I fucked up his name.
Yes.
All right. Cause and
Now you
effect.
fucked
around.
up.
Fuck
Now
around
you
and
fucked
find
up.
out.
Now you
But yeah,
fucked
so
up.
since we're
You
talking
fucked
about
up now.
pre
Now you fucked up.
pre the boar and what who Lillian was.
Yes.
Do you remember what Lillian's job was prior to the boring into the Dark One's prison? It is not a job I thought I would ever hear as like, this is how this Forsaken started. This was their career field. And it's kind of funny to me.
Interesting. So fun story though. Moghedien was someone who was in the Age of Legends relatively low on the power channeling capability. Now, she still, when it comes to the Third Age, she can still channel more than any living Aes Sedai. But when it comes to the Forsaken, she was like relatively low on the scale.
Not
Also-
just relatively. She was like second to last.
Yeah,
Oh, she is. She is the weakest.
and that's where I was
believe.
going to
She
go.
is the weakest? Okay,
So-
yeah.
I believe she is the
but
weakest
she
in terms of
was-
channeling ability. Forsaken. I'm talking about like not
She
not
was
her
the-
ability to channel, not how strong she was. The job that she performed as a member of Luce Theron's staff.
She was his hedge fund manager.
Essentially, yes. She was an
Yeah.
investment advisor.
Oh,
Hedge funds
shit.
manager.
Yeah.
She
So,
was the one who found
she's
the
the
money
story-
to get fucking Luce Theron all of the cashola that he needed to do all of his stupid ass projects.
And postal
And fun.
workers go insane. They like are much more explosive. Can I
Yeah.
say that? Is that offensive?
I don't know.
When
Probably.
accountants go insane,
She was
they
that
become
coworker that
spiders.
always told you needed to buy Dogecoin. It's the next big thing. Which for a brief
Fortune
amount of time
favors
was,
the brave.
she was a
Josh.
Dogecoin bro.
Fortune favors the brave.
Dogecoin to the Sharom. But,
I hate that.
So
joke,
the
but
fun
I
fact
also
about
love
her
it.
name is not only does Moghedien translate in Old Tongue to spider, it was also the name of a small spider that was found in the Age of Legends that lived in hiding and had a poison that would kill within seconds. So it wasn't just generic spider. It was a very specific spider.
It was a specific, yes.
So there's a bit of an insult in the name, but also a bit of like you're a coward, but you fucking scary coward.
Well, and the cool thing is, this actually brings in a callback to the series toward the end of the series, is Moghedien learned very quickly that those who are weaker in the power are often overlooked, often dismissed as you're weaker in the power. So we don't,
Especially among the Forsaken, the ones who only ever use the fucking power. You want to kill someone? Don't do it with your bare hands, even if it's a child. Make sure that you kill them in their crib with your wand so that you can have the repercussions come back at you.
Don't wait. Make sure their parents aren't there if you're going to do that.
Yeah. He thought that Larry was out of PP for the move Protect, but he wasn't. So Harry as a baby had plenty of PP apparently. Yeah, fucking Larry
Potter.
That's the redneck
Potter.
Hillbilly story of Harry Potter. Larry Pooter.
Moghedien is not Voldemort. Moghedien is not a good example of Voldemort, but there are a couple of other Forsaken who are like Landfear, for example. Landfear is Voldemort. She is standing there being like, I can hold all three of you women with a shield and also Rand. And then just fucking gets Leroy Jenkins into an archway. Like, come on.
She's like Peter Pettigrew.
Motherfucker. Like, come on.
She's Peter Pettigrew with the aesthetic of Bellatrix Lestrange.
Oh, yeah. Dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to her nose?
What?
Okay, it's a comparison based on characterization, not based on facial structure.
Okay, cool.
Jesus.
Thank you for specifying.
Anyway, so during the Age of Legends, like Josh said earlier, she was relatively weak in comparison to the remaining or the other Aes Sedai. So as such, she often was just overlooked as just harmless and unimportant. She was the person that sat in the office going over the numbers, looking after some of Lews Theron or the Aes Sedai's finances, probably a bit of both, for sure. But what she did, true to her name, as soon as the Boar happened, was she very quickly said, you know what? All of these other people in high school that picked on me and ignored me, I'm going to fuck them over by pretending to be their friend. And even though she doesn't take out Lews Theron, she doesn't take out a bunch of Aes Sedai, but what she does is actually incredibly effective. And I feel like it brings in an aspect of the concept of total war that is frequently forgotten about. You know, it's kind of one of the same things that makes the White Cloaks, historically at least in the books, terrifying because of what they do to the populace. Not the people that have the power to resist, but the people that don't. And Moghedien has the blood of countless civilians on her hands. She deliberately feeds information to the shadow, hides information from the light, and does a lot of maneuvering to make the light go in a wrong direction or away from here to aid the shadow in the war of power, so that a ton of civilians die. And so she very much knew the lesson that Russia learned very early on. Logistics is fucking important. So you don't wind up with a 40-mile convoy of non-movable trucks because, they ran out of gas. I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it. Ain't got no gas.
Wouldn't it be nice if you were in a place where people use their tractors to tow you where you wanted instead of just off the farm?
Yes. They weren't taken by farmers. They were taken to a local garage for repair. And nobody is appreciative of that.
Yep, exactly. Rude.
But yeah, so she's doing that. She gets discovered, barely escapes with her life because Brigida Silverbow, who is then known as Tidra, figures out like who she is. And this is the origin of why Moghedien absolutely hates Brigida Silverbow.
Yes. Yes.
So she barely escapes with her life after being discovered as a support of the Shadow, as a dark friend. And then gets summoned with the other 12 Forsaken to come to Shao Ghul, and is there when Lews Therin and his companions, the Hunter companions, strike. And that is how she even finds herself physically there, to be trapped in a dreamless sleep for 3,000 years.
A seamless dream.
Friends of the Dark, same thing. You just reordered the words.
I mean, yeah. You know what I love about this, though? What I love about this is because we do meet Brigida Silverbow later in the series, and Brigida and Moghedien meet. They meet. And Moghedien and Brigida are like, it's you. And it's just a real terrible thing.
Well, I also love how, again, Moghedien is known as she is not known as the Queen of Tel'aran'rhiod. That's Lanfear. But she is known to be insanely adept at Tel'aran'rhiod and sneaky as fuck.
Yes.
She considers herself the master of Tel'aran'rhiod.
Yeah, well, she can go fuck herself. It's definitely Lanfear.
I mean, you're right.
No, I'm just kidding. I can also call myself the president of the United States.
That's
it doesn't mean it's true. Yes, that is a joke for people who get it. Stop it. But yeah, so but she is incredibly adept. It is something where she is very, very scary in Tel'aran'rhiod, and it is a situation where Brigida's kind of always in danger. Not always, but in danger a lot on some levels, because every time as a hero of the Horn, she leaves the wheel to wait to be spun back out. She's in Moghedien's world. She does have a lot of knowledge about Tel'aran'rhiod, and she is careful and she is smart, but she runs around after Nynaeve and Egwene find themselves in Tel'aran'rhiod with regularity and basically goes, I barely even feel safe here. Get the fuck out. You don't know what's here. And of course, they screw up over and over and over again. And that turns into the aforementioned meeting of Moghedien showing up and Brigida and Moghedien being like, you.
So I'll agree and also dissent with you in
you will try
some points. Heroes of the Horn, they are strictly forbidden to actually interact with quote unquote people.
Correct.
Which tells me that there is a higher echelon of knowledge that allows them to abide by such rules. Maybe I'm wrong, but if there's any evidence of this to the contrary, I'd love to hear it and or see it. Jesus. I don't believe the Forsaken have the depth of knowledge that the Heroes of the Horn do. Now, I believe that some of them are close because obviously they've been exploring for thousands of years. But the Heroes of the Horn are in Tel'aran'rhiod indefinitely with hundreds of... They are all, in effect, Kwisatz Haderach. And the Forsaken are fledglings attempting that level of understanding.
I'm not saying that isn't an interpretation that you can make and have, and isn't somewhat sort of supported by the evidence, but in my reading of it, it definitely feels a lot like the Heroes of the Horn do a shit ton of avoidance because they don't actually have that much of a knowledge of Tel'aran'rhiod, and they're really just kind of running around being like, I just have to make it until I get spun back out. Again, it's not necessarily a constant fear of Forsaken. It's not like they're standing there the whole time being like, ugh, oh, what was that sound? Oh, what was that sound? Oh, what was that sound? But it is definitely not that they just have some like super higher knowledge of Tel'aran'rhiod, and they are just in danger in some way, and just avoiding people because that is their mandate. And in avoiding people, they've gotten good at avoiding Forsaken as well. But if they meet a Forsaken in Tel'aran'rhiod, they could easily get fucked.
No, but that's what I'm saying. There are places in Tel'aran'rhiod that are inaccessible. Well, not inaccessible as in you can never, ever go there, but inaccessible as in it's an island that you can't go to except you already know the location of the island. And I believe that's where most of the Heroes of the Horn hang out. And there's a lot of people, Forsaken included, who traverse Tel'aran'rhiod, but there are places within Tel'aran'rhiod that the normal person can't go to because they don't already know it exists.
You know what I think? I think all of those, the feeling of being watched in Tel'aran'rhiod is actually just a shit ton of Heroes of the Horn watching what's going on as you walk through Tel'aran'rhiod. And they're actually not on some island just, living it up and Dionysus's wine and cheese festival. They're like behind pillars all the time being like, I'm here, but I can't do anything. Fuck.
They're all Pavlov's heroes.
There you go.
No,
Schrodinger's
not Pavlov. Schrodinger's heroes. That's what I meant.
Schrodinger's heroes. There you
go. You knew what you meant. Came in clutch.
I don't know. I feel like if this was okay, if the whole of existence was a house and Tel'aran'rhiod was your bedroom, where you spent your between times, between eating, between associating with the family, between working, between, whatever. I feel like you would know your bedroom better than anybody who came into your bedroom and was like, dude, cool bedroom. So I feel like the Heroes of the Horn, just by nature of being in Tel'aran'rhiod, would have a greater understanding of Tel'aran'rhiod because they can retain those memories and knowledge and understanding, which is how they're able to maintain avoidance.
It sounds like two great future topics. Right? One, the Heroes of the Horn, and two, the nature of Tel'aran'rhiod.
Okay, we're going to write that down. Write that down.
Yeah.
So for Moghedien,
yes.
Voters.
As we all go silent.
That eight-legged squishes
by Birgitta, right?
She was what?
So she's got a vendetta.
Well, she was discovered, foiled, yeah.
So the first time we see her in the books, though, so we've discussed kind of backstory, but the first time we see her in the books, right? When is the first time we see her in the books?
She has disguised herself as Gildan, a dark friend merchant's servant, to keep an eye on Liandrin and the other Black sisters in...
That's right.
Yeah, so Shadow Rising chapter 38 is when she pops up as Gildan. She's first mentioned in chapter 9 of the Shadow Rising, but we see her as Gildan. 38, we see her as Moghedien in chapter 46.
Yep. And this is where she has her big duel with Nynaeve, or this book is where she has her big duel with Nynaeve. Not the first scene that she is introduced, but later on in that book, she is going after the Dominion band which is also something that the Black Sisters would. I don't think they actually know about it. Otherwise, they would totally be going after it as well.
Yeah.
Or the Domination Band. Sorry, not the Dominion Band. The Domination Band.
The Black Sisters are too like distracted by like the other relics. The Black Aja covets the Mercedes-Benz logo. So
there it is. I knew we were going to mention the Mercedes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's cool because like initially Elaine and Nynaeve are 100% caught off guard, which is Moghedien's metric. That's what she does.
Yep.
Because she comes in and as Josh leaves until he comes back, I think his internet fully lagged out. But she comes in and immediately hits Elaine and Nynaeve with compulsion. Shows up and immediately is like, boom. And basically tells them, forces them to tell her everything that they know about the Black Aja sisters.
Yup.
But it's during this that Nynaeve figures out, like, we're fucking being forced. We're being bamboozled, and gets pissed. And immediately is essentially able to break out of compulsion, which is an incredible feat in and of itself. But then proceeds to toe-to-toe duel the shit out of Moghedien. Stops her in her tracks, but before she can, like, you know, the final blow and capture Moghedien, Moghedien does what Moghediens do, and she fucking slips away.
Moghediens are really, really great at just gone.
Yes, all of the Moghediens that we know are really good.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
100% of the Moghediens that we know.
Yeah. So, and what I think, honestly, I think there are more important things that happen with her. And until I remember some of the other stuff she does, I'm going to call the next scene with her our most influential moment. And that is when she shows up in Amadisia.
Yep, that is the next time.
I know that's the next moment. What I'm saying is, I'm going to say this is her pinnacle moment until I remember other stuff she does. Other stuff she does is important, but the pinnacle of her abilities and the things she does with free agency, to me, this is the pinnacle, because she shows up in Amadisia, takes control of what remains of Liandrin and the company of Black Aja sisters. And Liandrin has very adeptly picked up on the fact that Moghedien is very low on the totem pole. And it's like, if there's one motherfucker to try with, it's Moghedien. And then very quickly goes like, okay, low person on the Forsaken totem pole is still much higher than me on the people that exist totem pole. Because it is Moghedien that ties a shield around Liandrin that is incredibly complex. It's impossibly complex. And there's no way that Liandrin is ever going to figure out how to unravel this. And so Liandrin is de facto stilled. It's procedurally obviously different, but in feeling and effect, no different than stilling is the way it's kind of explained. And Liandrin's like, okay, cool. I'll just fucking kill myself because that's how we feel about these kind of things. Or excuse me, I'm gonna have to edit that out because YouTube. I'm just going to
pass the metric, but
self unalive.
I'm just going to all the world is a stage. I think it's time for me to exit stage left.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
alt the powder room to take a powder.
Yeah. I'm just gonna alt F4 my existence. And then Moghedien is like, no, cool, compulsion. Live. And we know from compulsion that the closer that the order is to what the individual already wants to do, the stronger it is, making Moghedien's compulsion to Liandrin to live essentially unbreakable.
Basically, yeah. It's honestly one of the most savage, evil.
Liandrin fucked around and found out really hard.
Well, this is one of the really interesting moments because again, it's the Galena moment. It's the out-doming the dom. Because Liandrin comes in hard at Moghedien. she is on a warpath, and she sees her opportunity and goes, and I'm going to be the new Forsaken. And Moghedien turns around and goes, oh, you sweet summer child, I am the most Forsaken of all of the Forsaken, and I'm going to do the most horrible thing that I can imagine to you. And of course, all of us sitting at home are a little like, Liandrin's the worst, slay. But like at the same time, Moghedien is like horrible in this moment.
She listened to too much Eminem.
The only reason that we like her in this moment is because Liandrin is so bad. When it happens to Kate Fleetwood, I'm going to cry. Like, holy shit.
For real, though.
Okay. She listened to too much Eminem, thought she was the next Eminem, and turned out to actually be Nick Cannon.
Yep.
So
she lost herself in the music the moment she owned it. No. And then Moghedien made her let it go. But yeah. So we are running out of time here, and Moghedien does do a number of other things that we will talk about. A lot of amazing
things. Sorry, all of my headphones are dying.
Oh no! We're going to run through a few of these because there are a handful of things that aren't actually that important, but that she does and should be mentioned. Including the fact that this is the first time that Birgitte and Moghedien actually meet. They are in Teleran Riyadh, and Moghedien is spying on a number of the other Forsaken, discovers that she is being spied on by Nynaeve, so Nynaeve is spying on the spire, turns and basically captures Nynaeve, goes, you're in my world now, bitch, and then takes an arrow to the knee, horribly wounding her.
Nice
but before she actually leaves Teleran Riyadh, she wrenches Birgitte out of Teleran Riyadh forcibly, making it so that she nearly dies, and Elaine does the only thing that she knows how to make her survive, which is to bond her as a warder.
That's a baller move for Moghedien.
It's such a baller move. Dude, honestly, we give Moghedien a lot of shit, and she deserves it. She is evil as fuck. But like, as far as just overall like accomplishments, Moghedien has a bit of a resume. Like, seriously.
She ends up she's in Teleran Riyadh torturing Birgitte, Nynaeve, but it's her arrogance.
Oh, it is, yeah.
That ends up getting her screwed because, as we all know, she is a very plentiful source of information about the Age of Legends and weaves in the Age of Legends, because we already know that the Seanchan have these really cool things called Adam, and they
I have drastically different interpretations of the word cool.
I mean, yes.
I mean, they are metal, so they're probably cool to the touch. But...
Okay, listen here, you shithead. Elaine has learned how to recreate ter'angreal, so she recreates an Adam, and she's like, look, this one's not connected, so it's better. She creates a cellular Adam, and
that's not yet.
I don't know.
What?
That's not yet. So when she does this, she actually goes back out of Teleran Riyadh with the critical wound, goes back to the Black Sisters and has them heal her.
And that's right.
This is where she decides that she's going to go to Saladar and fuck with the girls in Saladar. Yeah. Because she disguises herself as Moghedien, who is a refugee who basically fleeces some kids.
Where did she get the kids?
Oh, there's a plethora of children.
I don't want to know, but also I want to know.
So there's a ton of refugees that leave Terabon with Nynaeve. And to be fair, you weren't far off with the Adam thing, because that is literally
correct. That is the next thing that happens.
Yeah. But she does leave, and this is the thing we see all often and almost every time with the Forsaken that are in Teleron Riyadh. They open gateways and they leave. And from what we see from Rand, because Rand does this same thing, they are entering Teleron Riyadh in the flesh.
In the full,
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Yep. Now, you do have a shit ton more control in Teleron Riyadh when you enter in the flesh, but you also have a fuck ton more risk.
Which is what cements it as the nearest mirror world to the current reality. In a place where all mirror worlds converge. So
basically.
And that's actually that's a really great point, because that points out the flaw that Nynaeve exploits. She realizes that Moghedien is in Teleron Riyadh in the flesh.
Yes.
She is
he's right. They specifically talk about this.
You what?
Because earlier,
so does Nynaeve then push her out?
No, she doesn't push her out. She idoms her in Teleron.
That's what I'm getting at, is because she does that, and then knowing that the Adam will disappear whenever she leaves Teleron Riyadh, because Nynaeve is not fully there. No, she fork roots the shit out of Moghedien in Teleron Riyadh, and tells them when they go to look for her that she can't channel, so her disguise will be down.
Exactly.
If Moghedien was in Teleron Riyadh in the flesh in this instance, they wouldn't be able to find her fork rooted, because she would still physically be in Teleron Riyadh. I think this is an instance where Moghedien is like, you know what? I think tonight I'm just going to sleep and show up. And
that's fair.
Infinitely like, it's the one time, honestly, that being in Teleron Riyadh in the flesh would have benefited her infinitely more, because she could have been like, I can't channel, but I can just will myself somewhere else.
Yeah, though I don't know. I mean,
the brilliance though of Nynaeve, like,
every day
she Adams her
every day
in Teleron Riyadh, and she's like, okay, cool. What do I do now? Because any like less thoughtful, less cool, calm, and collected, less strategic person would have been like, I'm getting out of here. But Nynaeve stops and is like, I can do this. I can bend this to my will.
I can bend it like
brilliant idea to do the fork route. And then wakes up and she's like, okay, it was a gamble, but let's see if it worked.
And it did.
And that gamble led to having
Moghedien's capture.
Right. Moghedien being completely and totally subservient to Elaine, Nynaeve, and Egwene. Egwene, who at this point in time was the Amyrlin's seat.
Yes. Well, and this turns into one of the greatest resources that they actually have for a time, because Nynaeve, for example, still has her block, and she actually uses Moghedien to help defeat a Forsaken, as well as Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene all use Moghedien's knowledge like gangbusters. And like, again, it's this, I love the dichotomy here, because Rand has lost his Forsaken advisor by this point. And the girls get their own. Rand can't tell anybody really about the fact that he had a Forsaken advisor, because that's just not something that he can really freely admit, even though a couple of people kind of know that, or at least suspect, but they just can't prove it. But this is the moment where I love how Rand sets up using Asmodean and tells him like these number of rules about things that he has to teach him and ways that he has to teach him and things like that. And then they kind of like come to an agreement and like start doing that.
And then the girls capture their own Forsaken and have like a nearly identical list of shit that they need to do. It's like, I love how Robert Jordan just calls shit back all the time. Because again, so Rand is like, every day you need to answer all of my questions that I have and also teach me one other thing that I don't ask about. And the girls do almost exactly the same thing with Moghedien. They come in and they're like, all right, Moghedien, every day you got to answer all our questions. And then you also got to give us one extra piece of information that we didn't ask for. And I was just like, yes, I love it. Emmons Fielders are consistent.
Well, I mean, they also have something that Rand doesn't. Rand has like intimidation control.
General holdover,
yeah, he has intimidation controls. Like every time Asmodean's like, well, fuck you, he's like, cool, I'll just kill you here and now because I can't. And Asmodean's like, cool, well, let me teach you something.
No one's even going to look for your body.
Yeah, because about the time that Asmodean's like, okay, look, I'm fully thrown in with this guy, I better help him, like Grendel shows up, no, not you, and he dies. But what Nynaeve, Elaine,
wine, though.
What Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene have is absolute domination over an inherently fearful person. Because that's the thing. Yeah. Moghedien is inherently fearful and will always operate in the interest of her own preservation, which is what has allowed her to survive so long, but also what winds up in her essentially being killed and reborn. Well, not killed and reborn, but Cora Suvrad. Yes. Well, and so they have this total control, and they can make her feel anything they want her to feel without even breaking any of the oaths that they technically haven't sworn but try to abide by.
Well, and even more than that, I like that you just made that point, because they can even feel shit that she feels too through the Idam, and so they actually know sort of when she's lying and blah blah blah. Not truly, because it is still a little abstract through the Idam, but at the same time, it's even better than what Rand had with Asmodean, because he couldn't feel shit from Asmodean. He just yelled at him like, can't you just play your harp and I'll throw things at you?
What's also kind of hilarious is how recently Egwene has become the Amerlin seat and how quickly she takes on a task that is like arguably the same level, if not maybe worse than what Suan did with the Dragon Reborn.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Not saying that she was corrupted, but it's a scary thing.
Yeah. All right. So power through some more of this. After they take her captive.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. I thought we were done with her captivity.
Oh, yeah. So she actually gets let go from the
from her first captivity.
Yes, from her first captivity. Right. Yes. She does get let go by another one of the Forsaken. Letting her go out of her. Yes, Halima, correct. Halima,
who is Arengar in disguise.
Who is Arengar?
Posing as one of
who channels Saidin, not correct. Saidar.
Yes. Quick tangent that doesn't require another episode. Did you see the tweet from the author of The Origins of the Wheel of Time?
Not specifically.
It was from the 20th about the two daggers, saying they are a critical for Osengar and Arengar, because they are both described as a set of twin daggers.
Nice.
So that I was like literally looking at Arengar saying it's like one of a set of twin daggers or one of a twin set of daggers. Wait, I saw a tweet about daggers.
Yep. Indeed.
I'm sure somebody already said it in the comments. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Arengar as Halima sets her free from her.
Sort of.
Arengar
sets her free from the girls and immediately brings her effectively to Moghedien. Because she is called to Sheol Ghul, and she goes there, and the Dark One goes, I'm sorry, did you just give motherfucking shadow secrets to these like little motherfuckers in Saladar? And Moghedien goes, it was a ploy. I was being sneaky, blah, 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 blah. And
didn't
the Dark
Shaidar
One
Haran
goes,
show up and take her?
oh, you're right.
Shaidar Haran shows up. It's like they're with Halima. And then takes Moghedien, is like, you are summoned to Shao Gul. And like every other Forsaken, she's like, fuck you, Merge. I'll have to do what you want. And then immediately is like, oh, I fucked up.
Just disciplines the shit out of her and then brings her to Shao Gul. Yes. And so then he puts her in a mind trap, brings her or gives her mind trap to Moradin, who is actually at this point relatively freshly brought back. Because he hasn't been around now.
At this point, he's already essentially nameless.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he has definitely not been announced as such. But yeah, so...
But he's already got the saw and everything. So he's like freshly reborn and already has the fucking black eye flakes. And it's like, dude, chill out with the Obey.
Right. So she gets... put under Moradin's control. He then goes ahead and gives her a task to go to Abu Dar to find Falian Boda and Ispand Shafar and figure out how they're doing on their Angreal hunt because they're looking for the Bowl of the Winds, basically. And while there, Nynaeve and Elaine have also come to Abu Dar with our lovely friend Matt to do exactly the same thing, look for the Bowl of the Winds. And Moghedien and Nynaeve cross paths, sort of. They cross paths from a distance. And Moghedien does the single dumbest thing that she has done in the entirety of the series so far. And that is she makes Nynaeve no longer handicapped. Because she sees Nynaeve get on a boat and sail out into the river, and she balefires
such a
the
good moment, though.
Oh, it's a fantastic moment. She goes and she misses her target because she actually tries to go ahead and balefire Nynaeve herself. Gets distracted or tapped or like, whatever, misses her target, blows a giant hole in the boat that Nynaeve's in, and nearly drowns her before Lan saves her. And in her near-death experience, Nynaeve gets over her black, effectively making her like the third most powerful non-Forsaken channeler in the entire fucking world. And we haven't even actually met like numbers 1 and 2. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, this turns out to be a very bad idea. And she actually gets punished for it as well because they find it, or Moradin finds out and gets mad at her because that was not what she was mandated to do. And this is where Moghedien meets up with Sindane, who is Lanfear Reborn.
Well, at this point in time, we kind of skipped over a very important piece. At this point in time, Moghedien is been connected to and or entrapped within a Korsuvra. Moradin,
sorry, say that again?
She's been entrapped inside a Korsuvra.
Yes, correct.
Moradin holds the Korsuvra that holds the soul of Moghedien.
I'm going to slap you.
So she is, when she attacks Nynaeve, she is doing this in secret. She's still acting as the spider. She does not have explicit permission, nor does she have an order from Moradin, the holder of her soul, to take this action. But
and that's right,
because she is so upset at Nynaeve for besting her.
Well, she completely breaks her own namesake. Absolutely.
This is one of my favorite parts because
she's always like hiding in the web. But then this time, in broad fucking daylight, in the middle of the fucking city, she goes, white hot beam, go.
Well,
and half of the city is like, oh, look at that. I'm blind.
Well, and I remembered it's one of the cooler moments because it's actually a stroke of Moghedien down the Korsuvra that makes her miss. That's what it is that distracts her. Exactly. And I love that mechanic that the bad guys can't get their shit together enough because they keep lying to each other and sneaking around and doing things they're not supposed to. And so Moghedien doesn't know that she's about to balefire her biggest nemesis. So he just goes, oh, little spider, and just touches her Korsuvra, and she's like, oh, and misses with the balefire.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good moment.
So after this, Moghedien sends Moghedien along with Sindane, as was mentioned earlier, as messengers to summon Grendel to him, which is obviously a play by Moghedien to show his strength, influence, and power over Grendel. They participate in the battle near Shadar Logoth, where, of course, Rand and Nynaeve use the Choden Call to cleanse Saidin.
I love Moghedien's role in cleansing Saidin. She's just like, yeah, they're doing that over there, and I was ordered to be here, but I wasn't ordered to do anything.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of hold on. I'm just gonna you guys do you.
So
especially because Moghedien knows that she is uber fucked already and that she's probably not making it out of this alive, even if she does end up making it, like end up helping the shadows. She's basically sitting there being like, yeah, so I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. So have fun cleaning Saidin because I don't give a fuck anymore.
So the next scene that we see Moghedien in after the cleansing of Saidin is she is there at a meeting of all of the Chosen / Forsaken in Teleron Riyadh.
Yep.
And they are all told that Rand is not to be harmed, but Matt and Perrin are to be killed if found. And I think it's an incredible moment because it seems to indicate that at this point, the Forsaken as a collective want to acknowledge under guise of the Dark One giving this order that Rand is now too strong and too powerful for them to singularly face. They want to provide an out and an excuse to not have to 1v1 the Dragon Reborn. It's hit a point where they have to acknowledge, even to the point of the Dark One acknowledging that a singular Forsaken cannot take down the Dragon Reborn. He's very clearly on a track to fight to fight the shadow and stay with the light. So it's kind of this moment of the Dark One is the only one that stands a chance at defeating Rand, at turning him to the shadow, at doing any of this. So instead of going after Rand, they now finally defer to, honestly, what should have been their plan all along. Take out the necessary people around the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah. Well, and it's also interesting because this is a moment to me where it is exactly what you said. It is. But also it's this just the Dark One is being such a dumbass as well, because on some level, if he actually got his forces all together to do some kind of counterstroke at Rand at this point, he might still be able to do something, but he's such a greedy little fuck that he still can't let Rand go and needs him to turn to the shadow. And he's not convinced that any of the Forsaken can actually do that on their own or even together. And so he is convinced that he can turn Rand to the shadow, or at least, convince him to do what he wants. And so he's like, all right, well, none of you can take him and none of you can turn him. So leave him to me later because I'm still not willing to let him die. I still want him to serve me freely. And it's definitely like, just another moment where
Which
I really love the way that Robert Jordan makes brilliant and yet also moronic villains, because again, they have just this motive that they need. They have this compulsion that they need to get, even at the expense of all of their plans. Because if the Dark One had just gotten a Forsaken to show up in Emmons Field and take out Rand when he was a fledgling, story would have been over. If he had just gone ahead and gotten a few Forsaken to take him out in like a number of different instances, story would be over and the Dark One would win. Or at least it would go to the, the next turning of the Dragon Reborn being spit out, and then he'd have another chance. But every single time he is just, as Leia says, selfish and self-serving to an absolute hamstringing, basically. Like,
I think their biggest fault isn't the selfishness or the self-serving. I think it's the ego. Their egotistical nature in wanting to overcome what looks to be an insurmountable good is their undoing. Because yes, like you were saying, Daniel, if you wanted to guarantee victory without really doing much work, you send, as soon as you have a Forsaken available, whether it's Ishmael coming out first or whoever, you send them to a Amon's Field, you send them wherever Rand is, they bail, well, not balefire, they kill Rand, and then the Dark One does what he does best: intercept the dying soul, bring it back, reborn under his control.
Yep.
And then from there, as long as Rand resists, he just kills, reborn, kills, reborn. Eventually, the soul of the dragon is going to be broken. Yeah.
Yep.
But that's not what we're talking about here. Because Moghedien is still a part of the story. I'm not going to say how incredibly relevant she is.
By this point,
she's pretty much just there. Because she does get her core Supra back.
She does.
Morden, and now fully as Nameless, pulls the remaining Chosen, which I think there's only like 5 or 6 left at this point.
Well, they make new ones, but the core Forsaken,
not including the
like 5 or 6.
Yeah, not including the new one. Pulls them into a Dream Shard. Moghedien gets the core Supra back with the warning not to fail again. Which is interesting because she's just given the core Supra. The core Supra isn't undone. It's not released. She's just given it back. So either it cannot be undone or it's easy access to just snatch again or she fucks up. That's where she's introduced to Mazrim Taim as a renamed Mahale as a new Forsaken, and then realizes that Grendel has been reborn as Hessalam. Then Moghedien is placed under Demandra's command. Morden then demands that all other plots and plans by the Chosen be concluded and they are to unite for the last battle, something that should have been done the second they all were freed from the dragon seal on the board. But again, there's that ego coming in. There's that selfish desire and that self-serving nature of the Forsaken.
I think there's a bit of like Sith philosophy going into this as well, because the Dark One purposely pits his Forsaken against one another to ensure that the strongest, most cunning Forsaken is the one leading his forces at the end of the last battle. Because keep in mind, every single time a Forsaken is killed by another Forsaken, the offending Forsaken is punished.
Yes, that is correct.
You're allowed
all of the underhanded tactics that you'd like up until murdering.
Until murder.
Yep.
But even at this point in time, Moghedien is able to work. She gets her Korsuvra back, and she's able to be like, yay. And they're like, don't fuck up again. She is immediately able to recognize Taim. She's able to recognize Hessalam as Grendel. And her next assignment is to spy on Matt. And can I just say, the worst position in the world would be to spy on the luckiest dude to ever exist.
Kinda.
God! Like,
but
how
Matt's
like,
not the hero of this section.
Again, but we're gonna send you to the dude who literally can't lose unless he wants to.
That's the funny piece of irony with it, because it's not Matt's luck that turns out and reveals her as a fake.
Is it?
It's not. Don't play the Matt got lucky by having men there. It is men.
This is why she's not a lamp, and why people like you should be thrown down a flight of stairs.
Yes.
It was not Matt's
Taviran episode.
It was not Matt's luck or Taviran that put men in his tent. Yeah. It was Rand saying you need to go here. If anything, it was Rand's Taviran-ness.
Let's put it this way. She is in the tent because Matt's Taviran nature, and she behaves as she should behave, which is the reason why Matt's Taviran nature needs her there in the first place. Because she would behave like she needs to behave, which is throwing a knife in her face and recognizing that this is a channeler, someone who's hiding amongst them.
You know what? Fuck you all. Min is the fourth Taviran.
Min
and her visions
is the fourth Taviran.
And her visions are her unique special ability. Matt gets his luck, Rand gets a voice in his head, and Perrin gets the wolfy furry talk.
Perrin gets wolves. Perrin gets
Min gets visions of the pattern.
So this is where we have the good old Moghedien story end, and that is that Lan successfully destroys. Thank you, Leia. Thank you. That's what I've been saying forever, and now the show is
forever been wrong.
Now the show is with me, so y'all can eat an entire bag of Taviran dip.
The show also did episode 8, so there's that.
Yeah, and it's not as bad as it is.
Oh, I don't think it is. I know it is.
Shade.
Water and.
No.
I said she's the fourth. I'm not saying Eggy and Nynaeve aren't. They're good candidates. They're like Taviran adjacent in the books.
Here's what I love about Moghedien. She's one of the few Forsaken who gets her comeuppance in the best possible way, but also in the worst possible way. Because if anyone deserves to be collared by the Seanchan, it's the Forsaken. However, who more dangerous to be collared by the Seanchan than one of the Forsaken? I don't give a shit what anybody says. Avienda's visions come about 100% because the Seanchan have access to Moghedien's understanding of Saidar and the knowledge from the Age of Legends.
Certainly not willing to go with you on that, but I'm also not willing
now
to go
have
with you
the
on
ability to act in the Age of Legends, essentially.
I mean, yeah, no, that's fairly terrifying.
Who you just handed a nuclear warhead to a horribly not an unstable government because they're very stable, but to a horribly absolutist government who has very contrasting political and philosophical views.
Yeah.
Well, to make it even more terrifying, I think on a tangent, is the inevitable demise of the Seanchan system of Damane in Sul'Dam.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, she's probably going to be some degree of free and a progressively evolving degree of free.
Yep. Because she's sneaky like that.
she's sneaky.
Yep.
I'll give you that. She's sneaky. And I mean, really, okay, so when it comes down to it, final thoughts.
Yep.
For Moghedien, she's incredibly intelligent. Okay. Even when she was held captive by the ladies in Saladar, she did not give everything. Now, they thought they got everything from her because they were giving it to her, whatever. But now she has practice. Now she understands. Now, granted, Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine were not near. Well, Nynaeve and Elaine were not nearly as brutal as Seanchan and Damane were. Egwene, she had much less patience for that. Oh, did we lose Daniel?
No, he's still there. He just turned off his video.
Oh, okay. So edit that out. We'll fix that in post. Egwene might be questionable, but at the same time, I'm not going to say she was on the same level as the Seanchan Damane, because in the end, she still had very strong problems with how they did things. And I mean, with all of the permission in the world, because it's horrible what they did to her.
Well, do we want to talk about before her capture, what she does?
Oh,
her disguise?
Let's talk about it. Did I jump the gun?
So, I mean, not entirely, because it is a bit of a footnote, but it is an important footnote because of something she gains access to. After Demandred is killed, Moghedien comes in, uses the Mask of Mirrors to make herself look like Demandred and take command of the Saurons. And the Saurons kind of doubt, but she is suddenly granted access to the true power. Like suddenly she's like, hey guys, I'm Demandred. And the Dark One says, you have the true power access.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. No.
And then she uses it to kill one of the older Saurons to prove to the other channelers there that she was Demandred, and sends the Saurons to attack the defenseless refugees. But this is whenever Talmanes and the dragons pop up from inside the mountain and wreak havoc on the forces of the pseudo Demandred. That's actually Moghedien. But she's like, she survives. Yeah, she survives, and she's like, I'm the strongest of the chosen that remain. And it's like, well, yeah, you're going to be number one if there is only one.
Yeah,
because
who
you can't really. Shannon?
My fucking boy Talmanes with his gateway dragons, interdimensional cannons.
Well, here's the thing. After she survives, like, she doesn't care that the forces that she pseudo took over were destroyed. Because remember, she wants to be in the background unnoticed. And she's I have to be the strongest Forsaken that remains. And she finally gets this moment of where her entire story has been relegated to being an overlooked, underappreciated, background, ignored person because of her relative weak strength. And she finally gets this moment of feeling like she is the shit. Like, imagine this. You've gone your entire life being the ignored, overlooked outcast, never even chosen last, just never chosen for sports in high school. You got dumped with the bullshit secretary job, just writing numbers in a book. Nothing against accountants and people that do this.
You have 12 older siblings,
look,
and people like them more than you.
But she,
an accountant. Okay,
that's why I said no offense against accountants, but you've been overlooked and ignored and considered a non-threat your entire life.
You've been doing IT for like your entire life, and
sometimes I do, and it terrifies me. But she's been like this her entire life. And every time she gets a step forward, she gets thrown back because of something. And she finally feels that she is at the top of the food chain of the chosen, of the Forsaken. She thinks there's still a chance. And then out of nowhere, a metal collar slaps around her neck. it is like the final nail in the coffin of destroying any kind of residual psyche she has. Because now, not only were you at what you felt was the height of your influence and stature over the rest, but now you are subject to some of the worst practices, if not the worst practice, in the maybe other than turning. That's arguable, like 50-50. And now you're a slave to the Shan-Chan will, and you're gonna have to give them all the information. You're gonna have to do whatever they say. Oh, and by the way, that massive amount of power, that true power that you were granted, has suddenly disappeared, almost as if the Dark One can't reach you anymore. How hopeless do you feel?
Yep.
But
that's a little exercise in giving a little bit of empathy to Moghedien.
But
terrible person, but this is also a terrible situation.
Oh yeah.
But
she's been there before. She spent 3,000 years stuck in a dreamless sleep. She's been collared by... Now, granted, the Shan-Chan are much worse. I'm not going to debate that because
here's my counter. If I may interject.
Interject, please, sir.
During a 3,000-year dreamless sleep, you are not manipulated and used. You're just there, unable to do anything. During our captivity, yeah. Mind game with by the Dark One.
Dreams?
Yeah.
It's
a dreamless sleep.
Still serve him?
It's a dreamless sleep.
Serve it?
There's no dreams to be manipulated.
This is a different discussion for a different episode.
But you have that state of just sleeping for 3,000 years, whatever. Then you're captured, yes, by an Adam, by Elaine Nynaeve, and ultimately Egwene. But you are never abused. You are made to feel fear, but you are never abused. But the Soldam of the Shan-Chan, especially knowing that they will not be able to reclaim any Damane from the Westlands ever again by treaty, are now going to make sure that you fully obey, especially once they discover how much you know and who you are, because they will.
That's the terrifying piece right there. Once Shan-Chan realizes who they've collared, Avienda's visions become reality. That, I believe, is the catalyst to creating the end of the Aiel and the beginning of the Shan-Chan rule in the world.
Maybe.
But that is
hard to say.
I love that I'm the only one that thinks this, and my other two co-hosts are like, well, I mean, maybe.
I mean, it's better than looking at you and being like, hey, Josh, you're a fucking idiot. Get off this show.
Yeah. Is it, though?
Yes.
I think the customers would love it more if you guys were a little bit more aggressive.
Well, you know what, Josh? Here's why you're dumb.
There
You're
we go.
definitely not
Andrew's
dumb.
got it.
Definitely
All right,
not
I'll play
dumb.
the straight man. Andrew, go ahead and just lay into Josh for the next 20 minutes.
So here's the thing. There's a little thing where in Avienda's visions of the future, the Aiel and the Shan-Chan are not party to the Dragon's Peace. And there's a little thing when Moraine shows up, and after, that's because
the Dragon's Peace.
No, they're not. The Shan-Chan are not part of the Dragon's Peace, and neither are the Aiel.
And the Aiel aren't, because Avienda goes to Rand and says, you must include the Aiel or it's going to be terrible. Because the Shan-Chan reinvade. And then Rand says, okay, cool. You and the Shan-Chan are going to be a party to this. So Rand makes the unbargainable bargain. The decision that no one should have to make to allow their institution of Damane to continue within the realm of Shan-Chan. So, because that has fundamentally changed the predication on which Avienda's viewings continue, they're going to fundamentally be different.
Piece. Yes, we do. I completely agree. Write it down.
Yeah, jot that down too.
So many ideas.
Final thoughts on Moghedien. I will go first, and I will go quickly. Moghedien is actually a really cool character. I do really appreciate that she's part of the story. Obviously, nothing that she does is good, and nothing that she does is helpful intentionally. Some of it is helpful unintentionally, but definitely not helpful intentionally. But I do think that she is a very good character to have. I mean, you need good, compelling villains. And I think that she is that. She absolutely is the kind of villain that compels me. I think that she is very much a villain who I think is interesting and definitely along the lines of intelligently evil. She doesn't work with any of the other Forsaken very well, but that is in her nature, and that is in sort of evil's nature, and therefore it's very par for the course. But yeah, I think that her addition really does show how capable someone who's overlooked can be, and how that can really mess you up on a lot of levels for a long time if it happens to you. And I think that she comes out of that with a lot of very understandable feelings, even though it's still trash. But yeah, I think that she's a really good addition to the story, even though every time she pops up on screen, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Andrew?
Well, I want to say first and foremost, I have enjoyed my apparent ability this episode to potentially piss off my co-host at least once. So that is always fun. And that it means like the other topics are definitely good topics to have.
Agreed.
And for those of you who don't know, we do, with some semi-regularity, annoy at least and piss each other off. But we talk about it, get through it.
I mean,
we're good friends.
Part of the fun of the show.
Yeah, it's part of the fun. It would be a boring show if all three of us agreed on everything all the time. It'd just be like one big echo chamber. Echo chambers are terrible.
It's like that one guy who reviewed us and was like, maybe you guys should disagree on some shit. And we were like, have you listened to the show?
We did actually have something like that.
Yeah, we did.
But Moghedien is one of those characters, honestly, if you had to pick Forsaken to get rid of, Moghedien is top of the list for me.
Moghedien, I like that.
Yeah, I feel like her. I feel like her versatility or her usefulness as a character lives very shortly. I feel like the biggest part of Moghedien's character serves as a punishment for Leandrin, which is sad considering it's a more evil character punishing a still evil but less evil character. I feel like Leandrin can be handled very differently, especially in the show. After that, she's an accoutrement to the story. She pops up here and there as needed to provide flavor. She provides honestly, I'm going to call it a bullshit excuse for Nynaeve's block being removed. Because she hates Nynaeve so much. Nynaeve survives. There's no way Moghedien, someone that led the most extensive spy network for the Shadow during the Age of Legends in the War of Power, didn't figure out that Nynaeve still survived, especially after the battle at Shadar Logoth. But other than that, that's the last time that the Moghedien has any direct interaction with Nynaeve. I feel like it could have been done differently. If you got to cut one of the Forsaken, Rafe, cut Moghedien. I'll defend you all day, all night, 24/7, like a 7-Eleven. That's my final thought. Cut Moghedien. All right,
Josh.
My final thought is highly contradictory to my Bijan Mahale
counterpart.
Okay.
Because you know what? Here's the thing. Moghedien is she's an exposition style character. She does an amazing job of pushing the story forward where necessary and existing in the background when exposition is not necessary. It's a really, really tough balance to write a character like that. And I think Robert Jordan has done a really great job of bringing, a full spectrum of characters to the table. And I feel like her name as the Spider is very aptly given and very aptly written. And as far as Moghedien goes, she may have been one of the most overlooked Forsaken, but I feel like she was one of the most present Forsaken, meaning that she was present in many of the most important scenes in these series. And on that note,
cool, she gets a participation trophy.
Sorovan Mahiel, wish you the greatest of days, and thank you for being here. I thank you for listening on Podbean and or any of the other podcast streaming media. I also thank you for watching on YouTube, because you need to see our faces and facial expressions. So I thank you for that. I thank you for tuning in, however you tuned in. And I hope that you have taken this dose of taint. And I hope that you're just a bit more mad than you were when this episode first started. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for being the best damn audience instance. I said it. I said what I said. From all of us here at the Black Tower, I have been your Sorovan Mahiel, Josh.
I, in not so many words, have been your Bajan Mahiel, Andrew.
It's a nice way of saying I'm long-winded. Thanks, fucker.
Oh, no. It was just a really fancy outro. I really appreciate it, actually.
And I have been your Amin Khan Mahiel, Daniel. And again, from all of us here at the Black Tower, thank you for tuning in. You really are the best. We love you dearly. We hope to see you again next week for another exciting episode of the Black Tower podcast. And in case we don't see you till then, good afternoon, good evening.
Always running the show.
In the tower, you can bring your pain. In the tower, you can feel the strain. You've been having so much trouble just fitting